And welcome back to centralcoastradio.com. Well, we've got a very, very special guest on the phone right now that's about to chat to us because, of course, the legendary band Inspiral Carpets are coming to Australia for a much overdue tour. They haven't been here since 1993, so we are looking forward to these shows that are coming up. We actually thought we would get Graham Lambert, the guitarist from the band, on the phone to chat a little bit about this tour. So welcome to the program, Graham.
Hi there, thanks for having me on. Nice to hear from you.
Now, Graham, so many of our listeners are so excited about this tour. How do you guys feel about heading back down under after so much time away?
Yeah, it's a fair old break, isn't it? 30 years, but we're really looking forward to it. It's amazing. It's even though it's your winter time, your winters are always better than our summers, so we're looking forward to that as well. And we've all got great memories from when we were there last time. Myself and Clint, the keyboard player. We did about 7 or 8 shows last time we came down, and yeah, had a great time. The audiences were brilliant. Everyone was really into it. We had a very enjoyable time.
Now, Graham, after the sad passing of Craig in 2016, I think a lot of your fans thought we would never see the band back together again. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what made you guys decide to get back together now and do these shows.
Yeah, it's fair to say, Dave, that we, that was 8 years ago, nearly certainly 7 years ago. There was a time for 2 or 3 years where we thought we'd never play again for sure. But this time, round about this time last year, we were talking around re-releasing something from our back catalogue, and the question popped up, does anybody fancy doing a few shows? And the kind of vibe was to do so. So we decided to do a bit of rehearsal, and we obviously we had to find a new drummer, which we did in Kev, who's brilliant. And then we said, let's do some gigs. And obviously, if we're doing some gigs, quite often have to do a single set, the greatest hits set, if you like, which is fine. And then we brought out the singles album on vinyl and CD and download, and the reaction's been amazing. Really, it just couldn't have been any better. It's been absolutely blown away by how we've gone down.
You guys have got so many amazing hits, though. How hard was it to actually put together a set list for this tour?
It's always hard. Whoever's got the pen when they're writing it down is in the master position, because you always have your favourites yourself. But I think we had 13 top 40 hits in the UK, and some of those were hits in foreign territories as well. So we kind of you can't be too clever about it. You can't be doing some obscure B-side from 1998 or something. You've got to do the big songs. So the kind of set list, it picks itself down to about 25 songs, and then we knock it down to about 20. So when we come to Australia, we might perform a couple of songs, a couple of singles that we haven't done in the UK yet, but we have to discuss that at the next rehearsal if we're up for introducing some songs we haven't been doing yet this year.
What's it like for you as an artist going back over these tracks and going back and playing them again? Does it take you back to the moment when some of these tracks were written and some of the things that were happening in your life at that time?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's amazing, and you can be stood there playing it live, and then you could just have a flashback to thinking, I remember doing the guitar on this bit in the studio. It was late at night. Everybody else had gone home. Little things like that. But the songs are there forever. We recorded some of these songs 35 years ago. Some of the songs we're doing, and we've played them in a lot of different territories all over the world. And it's still great to think that we're sat on the edge of my bed in my parents' house, writing this song with Steve in 1997 or whatever, 1987, and here we are in 2023 performing them in Australia. It is a very privileged feeling. It's amazing.
Is there a secret to your longevity? Because I've found being a music journalist over the years that there's been so many bands that, especially in the last decade, that have had one or two big hits and then they've just disappeared into obscurity, and you always think But their first album was so good. Where did they go? Do you have a secret to that longevity?
Well, not really. I mean, the longevity is we've had 2 or 3 major breaks. Like this time was 7 years. Then I think we had a gap of 7 years from 1995 to 2002. So we've had a couple of big gaps in there. So we haven't been going full time all the time. But if there's a demand there for what you do, if people want to see us, then why not do it? It's a great way of getting around, and seeing other parts of the world. It's absolutely a fantastic position to be in. But you've got to be into it. I mean, it does take its toll on you, travelling around and stuff and being away a lot of the time. But it's a very magical thing to do. Playing music to people, on the other side of the world. It's a great feeling.
You mentioned that you have fond memories of the tour of Australia in 1993. Tell us a little bit about some of those memories. What were some of the things that stood out about that trip to Australia?
Yeah, I remember we came over to Australia. I think we've been in Japan, which was very humid and very sort of sweaty and stuff. And then we got to Australia, and it just felt like I remember I was sharing a room with Clint, and I remember the first morning he opened the curtains. I think we might have been in Sydney, and just opened the curtains and the window for the hotel room. We were quite high up, and it just felt fresh, and the air felt clear, and it just felt like almost like the dawn of a new era somehow. But I remember from the shows that the audiences were very enthusiastic, and when we went on stage, the reaction we got was brilliant. Everyone was really into it. I guess it helps. Obviously, English is your language, as is ours, and when you play in some territories like Japan and stuff, it was singing in English, but it's not their first language. So that kind of makes things easier when you're touring like Australia and places, New Zealand, and obviously America as well, because you obviously know vaguely what we're singing about. But I've got great memories from being there. Remember the weather being pretty decent, even though it was your winter, but back home it was our summer. But as usual with our summers, they're never that fantastic. As your Australian test teams are probably about to find out now they're in Manchester for the next test, because you'll find it'll rain for at least 2 days there. But yeah, I've got great memories. I remember being in Perth and wandering around there, because I think we had a day off there just before we went home. And yeah, it was a great visit. We loved it.
I was going to mention that you've got a couple of breaks between shows this time around as well. What do you guys like doing away from the stage when you're visiting a country like Australia?
I like the beach, me and the sea. I'll get down to the beach if that's at all possible. Obviously, you won't be playing cricket because it's your winter, but I'll be watching the cricket overnight to back home because they're a big cricket fan.
Yeah.
And yeah, just want to get out and see a bit of the wildlife and get around a bit, and taking some of the fresh air. I know Tasmania's got really fresh air, and you got the freshest air down there in Australia. I'm looking forward to breathing a bit of that in.
And the freshest water in Tasmania as well. I reckon that's the key to why Tasmania's beer tastes so good, because they've got the freshest water in the world going into it.
Ah, right, okay. Well, tell the others about that. They're beer drinkers. I'm a bit of a wine drinker. I believe you've got lots of wine regions. So we'll all be sampling a bit of the wine while we're down there as well. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, when you're in Melbourne, if you want to take a little bit of a trip out to the Yarra Valley, that is one of the nicest wine regions in Australia.
Yeah, I think we might have gone there last time actually. I remember going on a wine trip somewhere when we were in Australia, so maybe it was Melbourne. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. But also looking forward to we're all big vinyl fans as well, so we'll be looking forward to going through the charity shops and the second-hand vinyl shops. We like to do a bit of shopping on that front.
Oh, well, we've got a great place here in Melbourne called Greville Street Records. All of the artists that come to Melbourne, people like Dave Grohl, go shopping there when they come here. It's called Greville Street Records in Melbourne, and it's an amazing place to go to explore vinyl.
Right. Okay. I'm writing writing that in the book as you speak. Rebel Street Records, right? We'll be there. We're coming for you on the day, either the day of the show or the day after, when we're in Melbourne. We'll be coming in there.
Yep. Yeah, and just be prepared to bring a lot of cash, because if you're like me, you'll end up having to take a bank loan out while you're in there. So.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's got to be done, though, hasn't it? Is that a second-hand store? Is it second-hand vinyl?
Yeah, second-hand, but also a lot of rare vinyl from right around the world that's new as well. So, yep.
Right, fantastic. Yeah, we'll have a bit of that. We'll pop in there for sure.
So, Graham, tell us about some of the other countries of the world that you've been to that have been highlights over the years. You mentioned Japan, you mentioned Australia. What have been some of the other countries that you've gone to play shows that have really stood out to you?
Yeah, we've been around America a few times. Not recently, but we've done a few runs, circumnavigated America probably about 4 times. That's always interesting. You know, it's always good, and it's so big and so. You know, they've got everything in America. You know, crazy people. You know, funny people. You know, it is always interesting going over there. We've been to South America a few times, which that's always an eye opener. Going down to Argentina, and we did some gigs in Chile in what was that? 2011. We did a bit of a South American tour, which that was interesting. Going over there, that's. There's never a dull moment in South America. It's always very entertaining. But it's just great to get out and do the shows. You know, like I said, first time I've been to Australia for 30 years, and we're going over to New Zealand as well, which we've never been to New Zealand. So this tour will have new territory for us. So we're looking forward to that as well. But it's great to just get out there. We've done a lot of shows in the UK this year. We've probably done about 20 shows in the UK. So it's good to get out to Australia, and then hopefully we'll get to America and Japan next year.
Awesome. Now, Graham, there is a story about your band that I had to ask whether it's true or not, because you read these things online and you never know if it's just someone making it up or whether it's true. Did Noel Gallagher once work as a roadie for your band? And if so, what do you remember of him being your roadie?
Yes, it's true. He definitely did work for us from would have been 1988 through to just before we went to Australia, actually, in 93. He wasn't our roadie then. So he roadied for us about 4, maybe 5 years. He was okay. I mean, obviously a very good friend of ours, because he was with us in the early days and saw us kind of rise up. But towards the end, he was really into playing guitar, and Oasis were Oasis were doing gigs, but Noel wasn't in the band. But Noel then joined them, and they started doing Noel's songs, and then Noel was starting to get busy with Oasis and just too busy to roadie for us. So he went and did his own thing, and obviously the rest is history. You know, he's done brilliantly. But has he been over there recently to Australia?
He has, yes, he has, yep, and it was an absolutely fantastic show. I was there. Yeah,
it's a great show, isn't it? And you know, his catalogue of songs he's got to go at, it is amazing. He's wrote some of the best songs from the UK in the 90s. You know, he's got his name on several of the best songs in the 90s. For sure.
Definitely. Well, Graham, talking of amazing shows, like I said, our listeners cannot wait for your shows that are coming up very, very soon here in Australia. And I guess to finish off the interview, what would you like to say to your fans out there some have already got tickets and some might be thinking about getting tickets? So what would you like to say to your fans here in Australia before you land here?
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to coming over. It's the first time for 30 years. It might be the last time. Who knows? Hopefully not. But you know, a lot of work's gone into the show, and we really love playing live. We've done some exclusive merch for the tour as well. So pop down and see us. You know, we'll be hanging around after the gig as well to chat to people. We're looking forward to coming over to what is a fantastic country. Even if you are our number one rivals at cricket, we're looking forward to being down there, and hopefully, you know, there'll be an interesting Ashes test going on at the same time. We'll look forward to it.
Definitely. Well, mate, we cannot wait for you to get here, and we can't wait to see what happens with the rest of the Ashes as well, mate. We wish you all the best of luck, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Great stuff.